The best way I can describe my review game today is simply charming. This game is a charming game, and it's also a lot of fun. So let's get on to my review of Grimm Forest. In Grimm Forest, the players take the roles of the three little pigs, and a fourth little pig that no one's ever heard of, because you gotta have a fourth player. These pigs are attempting to be the first to build 3 houses. The first one to do so will be the winner. Each player has a hand of 4 gather cards that correspond to the 4 gather locations. You'll gather straw from the fields, wood from the forest, bricks from the brickyard, and you can go to the marketplace to get a combination of all 3. In the gather phase, each player selects one of their gather cards and plays it face down. All the players reveal their cards and send their pigs to that location. If you're there by yourself, you get to take all the resources from the space. If there's another pig there with you, you have to split the resources evenly amongst you. In the build phase, each hog takes 2 actions. This is where you're going to spend your resources to build your houses. Each house is built in 3 stages: the floor, the walls, and then the roof. Once the roof is on the house, it's complete. Another action you can take is to draw a fable card. This is where the game gets interesting. During the gather phase, in addition to playing a gather card, you can choose to play a fable card. Fable cards cause all kinds of crazy things to happen to screw up the proceedings. You can even send monsters to the gather location to cause trouble for the other pigs. And lastly, throughout the game you can receive friend cards. You can only have 1 at a time, but they give you a really cool ability that you can use. At the end of any round, if a pig has 3 or more houses, the game will end, and he will forever be known throughout the kingdom as the greatest house builder of all time. So of course I have to start off by saying that the production is absolutely stellar in this game. I mean, from the graphic design to the component quality to the miniatures to the artwork, it's just absolutely gorgeous from beginning to end. And of course, having that fairy tale theme, it is a fantastic game to introduce children into a game with a little bit more strategy. I mean, you look at those components, what kid wouldn't want to play with this game? They would see it and they would just have to get to the table and play it with you. And it's not just a dumb family game. There's some pretty good strategy in the family arena here. And you know, of course, it's about Grimm fairy tales. But Disney has used many of these characters that there are cards in this game for as characters in their movies. And I think that Disney has brought those characters to sort of the younger mainstream audience, and they'll liken them to Disney more than Grimm fairy tales, I think. So that also helps, and it works even for my family, who we haven't played with any children. I play with adults, but still my family. My family's a huge Disney family. They love every Disney movie, and this game is a treat for them because they see characters like Snow White and the 7 Dwarves and Robin Hood and all these different characters that they see in the movies. So it's such an easy game for me to get to the table. Now, moving on to sort of the mechanisms of the game and sort of the gameplay here, that's where I wanted to start. So this game is very simple. But what I think's neat about it is that it has a lot of the same elements that you see in more heavier Euro games. Now, myself, personally, I like heavier games. I like complexity, I like depth. I'd rather be playing a heavy game than a light family game. But this one brings something to the table that I don't see enough. They're using those Euro mechanisms within a family-style game. So I can get a little bit for myself while giving them, my family, or, you know, non-gamers generally, or casual gamers, something that they can sink their teeth into. There is some really fun gameplay here in that respect. Now, I keep saying that there's strategy in this game, and yes, there is strategy, but it's a very light strategy. I mean, there's some resource management, there's using your cards at the right time, there's trying to look at the other players and see what they might want so that you can play your cards accordingly or go to the gather spaces accordingly. But really, when it comes down to it, this game has tons of chaos in it as well. Those fable cards are the interesting part of the game for me. I think that's the fun part. But it also adds in all the chaos to the game. So I think this game might not work for every single gamer because number one, there's chaos, and number two, there's take that elements in this game, and some of that chaos and take that could really hit you hard in the middle of the game. There was one specific game I recall with my family where one of us had a giant pile of resources. Not sure why they had a giant pile. They should have been spending them on buildings, but they had a giant pile. And a monster came along and ate half of them, literally half of them. So they spent lots of time putting together this collection of resources just to have half of it eaten. I know a lot of, more, heavier gamers and more, gamery type people that would be very irritated by that concept. For me, I went into this game knowing that that could happen. And I think that's the situation here. You have to understand that this is that type of game. This is going to be a chaotic, sort of frivolous, take that style game, and you can try your best to perform strategy, but something could come along and screw it up pretty much at any time. And that's due to the other players. So going back to that again, thinking about family games, right? Johnny wants to come and play this game. He's so excited. He's a big bad wolf miniature. He's got a dragon miniature in there. It's going to be great. The minute you play one of those cards on little Johnny, he might start crying because, that could really hurt. Hey, listen, as an adult, I'd get a little annoyed at that. Kids might not be. So really adding that strategy in and adding that chaos and that sort of take that element in it, you have to decide, is your family going to really want to do that? And if you do, are you going to play for real, or are you going to just let Johnny go and not throw the dragon at him? Then you're just kind of facilitating a good time for your kids. So this game kind of bounces back and forth between something a little more for adults and something a little more for the kids. So I think that kind of limits who might want this game. The target market, some of them might not want it. And then the other side of the coin, the other side of the market might not want it either. I'm not sure. For me personally, I think this is a great game. I think they made a lot of great choices with the design to make it a lot of fun. For example, the friend cards. That's such a charming element to this game. You have all of these characters, like I mentioned, like Pinocchio and Robin Hood and the Seven Dwarves and all these characters. And it's so fun to get those characters. You get these cool characters, they give you a cool ability, and you have some, attachment to these characters. But the game is really smart because obviously, there are characters that are significantly more powerful than others. Some are very situational, some are very commonly used, some are stronger than others. Clearly, they're stronger than others. But the game figures for that in that when you get a friend, you have a choice. You can either keep it and replace the one you already have, or you can give it to somebody else. They have to take it. And if they already have one, they have to discard the one they have to keep it. I like that. Because if somebody gets one of those super strong characters, you can take it away from them and make sure that they don't run the game out with this really powerful character. So you get your little time with this cool character, but there are ways around it to sort of balance out the game. And again, little Johnny might get upset if you get rid of his Pinocchio card or something. So it's a little more take that involved in there too. All in all, I think if you go into this game with the right mindset, knowing that there's take that, knowing that there's chaos, but really going at it as there is some strategy here with some of these common Euro mechanisms, you could really have a great time with this game. I love it. It's a game that I will take back to my family over and over and play with them so I can get a little bit of the type of gaming I like. I can give them the type of game they like. It's a theme that they really dig. Grimm Forest is a great game. It's not without its flaws, but I really, really like it nonetheless. Grimm Forest is just tons of fun, and of course, the production is amazing. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining me here today for my review of Grimm Forest. If you're enjoying board games, miniatures games, role-playing games, you can always check out our audio podcast, the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast. You can find it on iTunes or at thesecretcabal.com. And while you're here, please do me a quick favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to be updated with all of our videos that we're posting. There's a lot more coming up soon. Then you can click that little bell icon as well. And until next time, have a good one, everybody.